Hello students, this is your Prasanna ma'am from NEET World. Today I am here to deal with the topic Protista from biological classification. After fungi, this concept of this chapter has most of the weightage. Okay, if you look into the concept, this kingdom has no limiting boundaries, or the boundaries of this kingdom are not well defined according to Whittaker's 5 kingdom system of classification. This is because this kingdom includes all unicellular eukaryotes. This kingdom includes all unicellular eukaryotes, wherein those unicellular eukaryotes which has chlorophyll and conducts photosynthesis were placed under plant-like protists like diatoms, desmites, dinoflagellates, and euglenoids. And what ma? Euglenoids. They have chlorophyll and they conduct photosynthesis. As they are representing plant-like feature, they are placed under plant-like protists. If you look into fungi-like protists, those include slime molds. Those include what ma? Slime molds, wherein you can see the fungi-like characteristics, wherein in favorable conditions they extend their feet and grow by plasmodium. During unfavorable condition they raise out fruiting bodies, like how fungi gives the fruiting bodies. Okay, and the spores of this fungi-like protist, that is slime mold, contain true cell walls. These are all the features which represents the characteristic features of fungi. That is why slime molds were placed under fungi-like protists. Under animal-like protists, that is protozoans, the organisms included are amoeboid protozoans, sporozoans, flagellated protozoans, and ciliated protozoans. Okay, all these organisms are placed under animal-like protists because their mode of nutrition is purely holozoic and they don't have any cell wall. Okay, next, if you see the general characteristics of this Protista. As Protista, one more point to discuss over here, as Protista includes all these kinds of organisms, plant-like, fungi-like, animal-like, they form a common ancestor for all the 3 kingdoms, that is fungi, Plantae and Animalia. They form common ancestor for all these kingdoms. Okay, next, as we have discussed, they are what? Single-celled eukaryotes, and they are primarily aquatic. They have membrane bound organelles, that is why they are said to be eukaryotes, well defined nucleus, 80S ribosomes, and the flagella is made up of tubulin protein. Flagella and cilia has 9+2 arrangement of microtubules, like how you will see in eukaryotes. As they are eukaryotes, what type of arrangement you will see? 9+2 arrangement of microtubules, and the protein involved in the flagella, protein of flagella is what? Tubulin protein. If it is prokaryotic flagella, it has flagellin protein. What protein ma? Flagellin protein. Then, now you will see the nutritional diversity of this kingdom. What diversity? Nutritional diversity of this kingdom, as this has all the types of organisms. Nutritional diversity. If you look into holophytic mode of nutrition, holophytic mode of nutrition is conducted by plant-like protists. Those are diatoms and desmites. Euglenoids, in the presence of sunlight they are phototrophic or photosynthetic. In the absence of sunlight they are heterotrophic. So they conduct mixotrophic nutrition is conducted by euglenoids. Next, holozoic mode of nutrition is conducted by animal-like protists. Animal-like protists include animal-like protists like flagellated, ciliated and amoeboid types of protists. Saprophytic mode of nutrition is conducted by slime molds. Saprophytic mode of nutrition is conducted by what beta? Slime molds. Okay. Next, parasitic mode of nutrition is conducted by sporozoans and entamoeba, trypanosoma. Animal-like protists conduct both holozoic and parasitic mode of nutrition. Saprophytic mode of nutrition by fungi-like protists, that is slime molds. Holophytic by diatoms and desmites. Mixotrophic by euglenoids, that is Euglena. Very, very important, you need to remember this. Next, reproduction. Under reproduction, you have two types of reproduction under protists, that is asexual and sexual. Asexual is binary fission, you can also call it as amitosis, as the division doesn't include spindle apparatus or spindle fibers. And the second type is spore formation, wherein this spore formation can also help to tide over the unfavorable conditions. It is also helpful to bear the unfavorable conditions and give back the vegetative cell whenever the favorable conditions are there. Okay. Sexual reproduction is done by cell fusion or gametic fusion and zygote formation. Next, if you see the table, just we have discussed plant-like, fungi-like, animal-like protists. If you want to take a screenshot, you can take it. If we see the general characteristics of photosynthetic protists, which are also called as Protistian algae. These are also called as what beta? Protistian algae, and they form the major portion of phytoplankton. As they are the major portion of the phytoplankton, they are the chief producers of the ocean. They are what? Chief producers of the oceans. Okay. If you look into chrysophytes, under chrysophytes two types of organisms are included. Those are diatoms and desmites. Desmites are also called as golden algae. Desmites are also called as golden algae. They include both diatoms and desmites. Okay. They are mostly aquatic. Most of them are freshwater protists. Most of them are what ma? Freshwater protists. Next, if you see, they are microscopic and float passively in the water current. Their nutrition is holophytic, we have discussed it already. It is holophytic or photosynthetic mode of nutrition because it has photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll, A, C, xanthophyll and carotenoids. Both xanthophylls and carotenoids are fat soluble pigments. They are what? Fat soluble pigments. Next, if you see, the cell wall is silica or it has siliceous cell wall. You can also say it has siliceous cell wall, which is indestructible. The cell wall lining over the diatom will form two thin overlapping shells. They will form what ma? Two overlapping shells like this. Two overlapping shells, wherein the upper shell is called as epitheca and the lower shell is called as hypotheca. Both epitheca and hypotheca together you will call it as frustule. Both epitheca and hypotheca together you will call it as what ma? Frustule. Okay. Next, the deposits of this siliceous cell wall over the oceans and seas will form diatomaceous earth. The deposits of siliceous cell wall will form diatomaceous earth over that oceans and seas, and this diatomaceous earth is highly useful. Diatomaceous earth is highly useful in polishing, filtration of oils and syrups based on the symmetry, diatoms and again divided into two types, those are centrales and pennials. Centrales are radially symmetrical, you can divide it in any plane possible, just a minute, you can divide this in any plane possible. Radially symmetrical are centrales. Those which are bilaterally symmetrical, divided by only one plane, are called as what, pennials. Based on symmetry, they are divided into two types, those are centrales and pennials. Centrales are radially symmetrical, pennials are bilaterally symmetrical. Next, if you see reproduction, asexual reproduction we have already discussed. Asexual reproduction is through binary fission. Asexual reproduction is through what, binary fission, which is also called as amitosis, and sexual reproduction, of course, this is through gametic fusion. After gametic fusion, there is after gametic fusion, what is formed? Zygote is formed. Zygote has some overlapping or covering over it, which turns to oxospores. Zygote, when it covers a cell wall over it, it turns to what, oxospores. These oxospores are called as rejuvenatory spores. Zygote, at the time of cell division, as it reduces its cell size, these rejuvenatory spores will help the zygote or help that vegetative cell to gain back its cell size. That is why oxospores are called as rejuvenatory spores. This zygote covers an overlapping over it and turns to oxospore. Oxospores act like rejuvenatory spores as they give back their cell size and cell shape. Okay, clear? So, this is multiple times asked actually, what are oxospores? These are rejuvenatory spores, asked in EAP set also. Next, dinoflagellates. Okay, the second type of plant like protists are dinoflagellates, which are golden brown photosynthetic protists. They are what, golden brown photosynthetic protists. They are marine. The photosynthetic pigments involved in it are chlorophyll A, C, beta carotene and xanthophyll. Next, the cell wall of dinoflagellates include stiff cellulosic plates on the outer surface. They have what? Stiff cellulosic plates. And the nucleus of dinoflagellates is called as mesokaryon because it resembles both prokaryotic and eukaryotic nature of nucleus. How is the nucleus is condensed? It is primarily condensed in the form of chromosome, and the nucleus is well organized. Nucleus is well organized and it is condensed in the form of chromosomes. It is condensed in the form of chromosomes. But then what is the feature of prokaryote here? The nuclear division or karyokinesis. Nuclear division or karyokinesis is just fission. It is what? Fission or amitosis This is the feature that resembles with prokaryotes. How it is amitosis? Because there is no spindle formation. There is no spindle formation. Clear? They are dividing without any nuclear membrane division. Nuclear membrane is not divided. Nuclear membrane is not divided. Okay, the genetic material whichever is present inside the nucleus is just divided into two. It has undergone fission without any spindle apparatus or spindle fiber formation. Clear? This is the character of mesokaryon that resembled by prokaryotes, and this is under eukaryotes. The flagella of dinoflagellates has one longitudinal flagella and one transverse flagella. This longitudinal flagella and transverse flagella will together move, and this causes the movement of what ma? Whirling whips. This movement is called as what? Whirling whip movement. This movement is what ma? Whirling whip movement. Next, if you see bioluminescence, this is also a property emitted by marine dinoflagellates like Noctiluca in the dark or in the night times. This Noctiluca emit the presence of light, which is called as bioluminescence, exhibited by what? Dinoflagellate Noctiluca. Next, red dinoflagellates called as goniolochs. They do, what does they do? In the sea and ocean, they will multiply. At the time of their multiplication or proliferation in the sea, they will release toxins like saxitoxin. These toxins will kill the marine fish, and they cause the appearance of red tides in the Mediterranean Sea. They will cause the appearance of what ma? Red tide in the Mediterranean Sea. Next, if you see Euglena. Euglena, these are mostly freshwater organisms. In Euglena, the cell wall is absent, but they are surrounded by protein rich layer called as pellicle. Okay. If you see the photosynthetic stick, this is called as reservoir. Look into the structure properly, very important. If you see this is called as reservoir. Attaching to the reservoir, you have photosynthetic stigma or eye spot, which receives the sunlight. This receives what ma? Sunlight. And here if you see from the reservoir, long flagella and short flagella is arising. Long flagella is of tinsel type. It is called as tinsel type. Tinsel type stichonematic flagella. Stichonematic flagella. Okay. Next, if you see, and there is one more short flagella which is arising over here. So there are two flagella, one is short and one is long. It has some hair like structures over it also. This is called as tinsel or stichonematic flagella. And inside Euglena, you also have contractile vacuole, which plays a major role in osmoregulation. They play major role in what? Osmoregulation. Clear. Next, it has membrane bound well defined nucleus, and the outer boundary is what? Pellicle. There is no cell wall in here. It is covered by a proteinaceous layer called as pellicle. Next, Euglena has special mode of nutrition called as mixotrophic nutrition, wherein in the presence of sunlight, it acts as holophytic because it contains photosynthetic pigments like chlorophyll A, B. Both in chrysophytes and dinoflagellates, you have chlorophyll A, C, but in Euglena, you have chlorophyll A, B like how you will see in higher plants, okay, and xanthophyll and beta carotene. In the absence of sunlight, when the Euglena is deprived of sunlight, they conduct saprophytic mode of nutrition, which you will call it as holozoic nutrition. They get nourishment from dead and decaying organisms. Next, reproduction. There is no sexual reproduction in Euglena. Sexual reproduction is absent, but the asexual reproduction under favorable conditions include longitudinal binary fission. Longitudinal binary fission, wherein there is a furrow that is formed in the nucleus that goes deeper into the nucleus, and it cleaves over there where it divides into two daughter cells. A furrow which is formed is deepened into the cell, and finally it results in the formation of two daughter cells, which is called as longitudinal binary fission. Under unfavorable conditions, it does two things. One is called as palmella stage. One is called as palmella stage, wherein all Euglena will come to a place and they will get rid of this flagella. They will get rid of this flagella. They will turn in the form of cyst and they will aggregate together. They will aggregate together. Whenever the favorable conditions are resumed back, they will get their flagella and they are released out. They are released out and they are getting their flagella back whenever there are favorable conditions. Second type they follow in the unfavorable condition is cyst formation. Cyst formation. Euglena will develop a complex cell wall. Complex cell wall which is called as cyst. Complex cell wall which is called as cyst under unfavorable conditions. Whenever there are favorable conditions back, this cyst will release their cell wall or it will destruct its cell wall and the euglena is released out. Next, if you take fungi-like protists, include what? Slime molds. What are fungi-like protists? Slime molds. These slime molds, just a minute students, these slime molds are what? Achlorophyllous and they are purely heterotrophic saprophytic protists. They are purely heterotrophic and saprophytic protists. Their movement is through false feet called as pseudopodia. Their movement is through what? False feet called as pseudopodia. Their vegetative state is multinucleated cenocytic. Vegetative phase is multinucleated cenocytic, wherein the mass of protoplasm is surrounded just by plasma membrane. There is no cell wall. The vegetative stage is surrounded by plasma membrane and the cytoplasm possess multinucleated condition. Cell wall is absent in the vegetative stage of the slime mold. Okay. And under favorable conditions, during favorable conditions, they form aggregations called as plasmodium. They form aggregations called as what? Plasmodium. They may grow and spread through several feet. They may grow and spread over several feet. That happens in favorable conditions. Through the extensions of plasmodium, they grow up to several feet. During unfavorable condition, the plasmodium will develop fruiting bodies. Plasmodium will develop what ma? Fruiting bodies, and this fruiting bodies release spores. This fruiting bodies release spores, and these spores when fall onto suitable substratum by air currents, they develop into a new slime mold. They develop into a new slime mold, and this spore contains true cell wall. They have true cell wall. Clear? They have true cell wall, when true cellulosic cell wall. When they fall onto suitable substrata, that gives rise to a new plasmodium. Next, protozoans. Protozoans are primitive relatives of animals. They are heterotrophs of two types. What are they? Predators and parasites. They act as predators and parasites, and cell wall is absent. That is why they are animal-like protists. Cell wall is absent. That is why they are animal-like protists. Okay. Next, what are the four types of protozoans you see? Amoeboid protozoans, flagellated protozoans, ciliated protozoans and sporozoans. Let us look into them. If you see amoeboid protozoans, for example, amoeba or entamoeba histolytica. Amoeba or what ma? Entamoeba histolytica, wherein it has false feet called as pseudopodia through which it conducts locomotion. It conducts what? Locomotion by pseudopodia. The food vacuole is also called as digestive vacuole. The food vacuole is also called as digestive vacuole, where it digests the food which it is consuming through the process of endocytosis. Amoeba, through the false feet, it will move, it will engulf the food through endocytosis, it will digest inside the cell through the digestive vacuole, and it will release out through the process of exocytosis. Next, if you look into the nucleus, nucleus is membrane bound and well organized, Contractile vacuoles present in the amoeba are helpful for osmoregulation. They are helpful for osmoregulation and excretion. They are helpful for osmoregulation and excretion. Okay. Next it is Paramecium. Paramecium are ciliated protozoans. Okay. They are what ma? Ciliated protozoans, wherein it has two different types of nucleus. Paramecium is binucleated, which is most important feature, binucleated, wherein it has one macronucleus and one small micronucleus. Macronucleus is helpful in the metabolic activities. Macronucleus includes all the information or conducts all the metabolic activities. Metabolic activities like nutrition and respiration. And micronucleus will conduct the activities like reproduction. Macronucleus takes care of all the metabolic activities. Micronucleus will take care about the sexual reproduction or recombination, genetic or germline recombination. Okay. Next, this Paramecium has oral groove through which, this is also called as food mouth, through which food is entered into the Paramecium, and it also has food vacuole or digestive vacuole where the food is being absorbed and it is released through the anal pore. The cell membrane has many cilia, thousands of cilia. It has thousands of cilia, which conducts locomotion. Ciliary movement is always faster than the flagellar movement. And the third type of protozoan you will see is Trypanosoma. Trypanosoma is the flagellated protozoan. Trypanosoma is what ma? Flagellated protozoan, wherein it has flagella arising from the cell membrane. It also has well defined nucleus and digestive vacuoles inside it. And the fourth type, which is non-motile, that is sporozoa. Non-motile sporozoa, which doesn't have any motility structures. And example of sporozoa, best example is Plasmodium. If you look into the comparative study of all the different types of protozoans, amoeboid, flagellated, ciliated and sporozoans. If you look into amoeboid, the habitat include freshwater, marine water, and they also exist in moist soils. Habit, free living, and few of the amoeba are parasites, for example Entamoeba histolytica. Locomotion is through false feet, that is pseudopodia. That is what ma? False feet. That is pseudopodia. Next, distinct feature is marine forms. Few of the marine forms of amoeboid protozoans has siliceous cell walls or siliceous shells. Okay. Next, examples include amoeba and entamoeba. Flagellated protozoans, they are free living aquatic, they act as parasites. Their locomotory structure is flagella. For example, trypanosoma causes, it may cause in few like sleeping sickness. Next, third type, ciliated protozoans, which are aquatic, both freshwater and marine. Few are parasites. Locomotory structure is cilia, whose movement is faster than the flagella. Next, the cavity, the special character or the distinct feature of ciliated protozoans are cavity or gullet for the transport of food. And for example, Paramecium, it has two types of nucleus, macronucleus and micronucleus. Sporozoans, they act as endoparasites and locomotory structures are absent, that is why they are non-motile. They are what ma? non-motile. They have infectious spore-like stage where you will see in the life cycle of malaria disease. For example, Plasmodium. With this concept has done. Coming up, we will come up with one new concept from the biological classification which is very important, that is Monera. Thank you.